Okay, what an American thinks about Argentina. Well, I was in Argentina for a bad time, other time. This is back in like 2000. And I worked there for 2 months teaching English and didn't get paid a penny because they kept telling me they'd pay me later and pay me later, and then I traveled for 2 months through Brazil and stuff, and then I came back and they still couldn't pay me after 3 weeks. Then they gave me a check, and the check was from a bank that went under because the two brothers who owned it, one of them was in jail for him, and the other one disappeared because he stole like $300 million or something. And I was there when they devalued. Their peso was pegged to the dollar, 1 peso to $1. And then when I left, it was 3.5 pesos to $1. And but I heard before they devalued, all their politicians and rich people and stuff were carting cash out of the country like in semi trucks. That's just what some dude in Uruguay told me. But they had protests where people were clanging on the pots and pans in the streets and setting bonfires in the middle of the streets. Yeah. But the Argentinians themselves, they're really well dressed. Like, you know, when you look at them walking through town, they look, it's almost like you know, like a European country, you know, first world country. They're dressed in leather a lot. They make a lot of leather. I think that's what they export, the cows. And they're white. They're pretty white looking, you know, just like you or like me. And their English is pretty good. Better than anybody else in South America. But they were really grumpy while I was there. One time I was in a payphone and I was just trying to get people passing by to show me how to put the money in because it was confusing me. It was a weird kind of payphone, and I literally couldn't get anybody to show me and they were rude too. They were like, ah! And I think it was because they thought I was panhandling. Maybe because I didn't see that many panhandlers there, but yeah, they were really stressed out over there. One lady asked me for money and I gave her some, and then she got pissed. She said it was for a charity. But then she got all pissed off at me. She's like, what am I going to do with this? This is nothing. You have it back. And got like angry with me. And then but I was looking at her for a lot. And she didn't ask anybody else for money. And she was just like sitting down for like an hour. But the subways are really old. One of the subway cars I was riding on, I think it was from like World War I. Like every time the track shifted, the whole subway car like shifted. Like one of these old wooden built houses that are like just about to fall over. The whole thing was like made out of wood. And the tunnels walking into the subway were like really little. Like they were dug by some dude with a shovel. And yeah, and there were a lot of old buildings. Yeah, but a lot of cracks and stuff in the sidewalk. They definitely were having money problems. One fucked up thing about Argentina, or Buenos Aires, is that it's right next to the Plata River, but you can't see the other side of the river because it's at the opening of it to the ocean, and you can't see it. You might as well be in some town, a normal town. Yeah, they built its back to the river. It's stupid. All the like industry is there. You can't. There's only one way to access it. And you have to go down this one narrow trail and way out, and then you get like a little bit of this rocky area. But yeah. But the people I did the English for, they were. Yeah, that wasn't cool how they didn't pay me. And then when they paid me, they said I had to like get legal and go to this thing and wait in line, and then I go there and it wasn't. So they didn't know what they were doing, or they were just trying to like delay me or something. What they usually do with teachers, I heard from other teachers, is that they don't pay. They never pay anybody on time. It's always a month late, so they get more money on interest on the from the bank. But when you do their classes, you have to be in long pants, though. They're really formal. I showed up in shorts one day, and like the person complained and said I needed to show up in pants. But the teachers, I don't know if it was the person I did the class with, but the students I did, they were really good at English. It was just conversation. But the city's really big, and it's really the nice part of town is nice. The houses are nice, but they're all gated. They're like the big, big fences in front of the house. Yeah. The southern part of this country is really windy. There's this one town called Montenegro or something. It was really, really windy, like insanely windy outside of it. Once you go in it, and it's not as windy from the being sheltered by the big buildings. It was like Star Wars, where if you go outside of the city, it's like, watch out, you're in the wilderness now, because it was so windy. And I took a bus into this to see this glacier, Moreno, and I was the only guy in the whole bus. It was expensive too. It was really expensive there, like as expensive as America when I was there. And I did the tour, and this Argentinian dude offered to pay for my special, like, little boat trip next to the glacier. I didn't accept, though. Didn't want to. But yeah, we were pretty mellow, though. I got really drunk and went into this room full of these dudes, and I was all being annoying, like, where can I buy the weed? And they were just like looking at me. So, but yeah, a lot of them were grumpy looking on the streets in Buenos Aires. There was not a good time for them. Like yelling too. Like you ask them and they just like yell. They get aggressive. The Argentinians are more aggressive than like anybody else in South America, including the Chileans. Chileans aren't like that, and they like to talk. Argentinians, they'll talk forever about nothing, about really trivial stuff. I like people who talk, but only if they like know stuff. They talk about like their relatives and stuff, their relatives' dogs and stuff. They just like to talk. They'll talk forever. Like ones you meet, just people you meet on the street and on the bus and stuff. The tango is interesting. They do the tango dance. It's like their very own art form. It's kind of like it's like an olden time. It's like going back in time. I guess one of the Argentinian guys told me that in the 50s it was like the 6th richest country in the world, so it was totally first world country, and then it collapsed after that. But I had that feeling. I had that kind of feeling like it was nostalgic. They were nostalgic for the past. They dressed kind of like from the past, and the men stand really upright like this, and they do the tango with that old music, and the buildings are really old and big, and kind of architecture similar to Paris. Big buildings. Yeah, it's actually has a cool feel to it. Okay, so that's what I think about Argentina.